And I feel that that's an invitation for you and I to be agents of social change.
And so I haven't gotten any update from what's going on. That's fine. I'll survive. I don't know. What?
Hello.
Well, she can figure it out.
How you doing? Doing pretty well, you?
Good morning, New Hampshire. We are about to get started, so just settle in. Welcome to A Call to Serve, City Year's Martin Luther King Day celebration, an event honoring Dr. King's extraordinary leadership and belief in the power of service to change the world. My name is Annika Bell. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and I proudly serve as a City Year Americorps member in a 5th grade classroom at Henry Wilson Elementary School. It has been my honor and privilege to serve this incredible city of Manchester. I also proudly serve alongside hundreds of other national service members who have chosen to give a year to New Hampshire, many of whom are here today. Thank you for coming together today to reflect on the vision and values of Dr. King and to build on his legacy of service. We hope that by the end of this morning's program, our community will be made stronger by the deeper understanding we gain of ourselves, each other, and how we can make our society more just and equitable. We would like to start by thanking our partners for today's event. Thank you to Volunteer New Hampshire for their crucial support of this event, and to all the organizations hosting Americorps, VISTA, and Senior Corps National Service members who have joined us today. We also want to give a thanks to the Currier Museum of Art and Hillside Middle School for being key partners in today's event, and to the Puritan Backroom for donating today's delightful breakfast. We are going to begin our event by building community right here in this room. So let's get to know one another. In a moment, you will have a few minutes to find someone in the crowd whom you don't know and introduce yourself to them. Share your name, what you do in the community, and why you chose to be here this morning, or why you feel it's important that you are here. When it's time to pause our conversations and reconvene, I'm going to use one of City Year's power tools called Hands Up. When you see my hand raised, please also raise yours if you are able and turn your attention back to the stage. So now, please find someone in the crowd and introduce yourself. for participating. It is now my pleasure to welcome to the stage a woman who has first-hand experience both with the challenges and opportunities in this city. Since starting her public service in 2007, she has served on the Manchester Board of School Committee, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and on the Governor's Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math Education Task Force. She has long served as an incredible pillar of the Manchester community, which she has worked tirelessly to strengthen. And I'm sure I'm not alone in my admiration of her inspiring leadership. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Mayor Joyce Craig.
Good morning. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you and to welcome you to this wonderful event. And I'm pleased to recognize and thank all of the New Hampshire service members and local leaders who have joined us this morning. We're gathered here today because Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a vision of a beloved community. Dr. King's beloved community was a realistic, achievable goal that could be accomplished by a group of people coming together and understanding that our individual well-being is directly linked to the well-being of others. That idea, the notion that to help ourselves, we must help others, is directly tied to the work we're doing in our community today. By working together and engaging in our community, we're working to make our city a better place. And City Year is such a great example of this. Since 2000, City Year has served over 1.5 million hours and tutored, mentored, and supported nearly 90,000 students here in Manchester and across the state. What City Year and others have shown us is that by engaging in service, we can strengthen our relationships with each other. It allows us to come together and celebrate in our shared humanity, and progress is made. I grew up here in Manchester, and I love that I have a job that allows me to work hard every day to make my hometown a better and more welcoming place. We all come from different backgrounds and varying life experiences, but we are all united in our desire to make our city and our state a better place for everyone. Seeing all of you here gives me hope for our future. So many of you have dedicated a year or more of life to serving others. You are such an inspiration. In the spirit of a beloved community, let's always keep Dr. King's words front of mind. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Thank you for all of the work that you do. It's truly an honor to be here with you this morning.
Thank you, Mayor Craig, for being with us here today and for all that you do for our community. Gathered here today are members of national service programs from around the state. A few representatives will now share their stories of service with us for a special Voices from the Field presentation.
Good morning. My name is Amelia Schubert, and I proudly serve with the Americorps Vistas with Catholic Charities of New Hampshire. The Vistas commit a year to serve with many New Hampshire nonprofit organizations. They provide capacity building by carrying out the Vista mission of alleviating the poverty in America. Vistas support programs in improving academic performance of students, reducing homelessness, and improving health services, among other things. I serve because I want to provide support for communities who need more resources within their schools. I believe students should have the right to an equitable education, and by serving a year as an Americorps Vista, I'm providing students with the resources they need to feel included and to be able to chase their dreams. I'm inspired by Dr. King because he fought against injustice and never lost hope. I feel like this is a great day to honor him for all the things he did so that every child could have the opportunity to have an education. I'm serving on this day because, like Dr. King, we must never give up on educating our communities about how to fight for justice.
Program at Bridges, a crisis center in Nashua, New Hampshire. The Americorps Victim Assistance Program provides emergency services for survivors of domestic and sexual violence and stalking, including confidential shelter, court and hospital advocacy, as well as support groups and connections to community resources. I serve because there will always be a need for advocacy around domestic and sexual violence. There are people in my life that have shown such resiliency in regards to their own trauma, and it is their successes and the successes of people and survivors that I work with that continually inspire me to empower future survivors I meet during my time as an AVAT member. A year before his passing, Dr. Martin Luther King said, "More and more, the civil rights movement will become engaged in the task of organizing people into permanent groups to protect their own interests and to produce change in their behalf. This task is tedious and lacks the drama of demonstration, but it is necessary for meaningful results. I'm inspired by Dr. King because he fought for equal rights for all through nonviolent community empowerment, and that is what my 2 years of service as an AVAT member have focused on. In order to support survivors of domestic and sexual violence, community programs are so vehemently necessary to the work that all of us strive to do. There is strength in numbers, so as long as we continuously work towards social justice through engagement and service, our time as Americorps members will positively impact the communities that we serve."
My name is Kimberly Appleby. I am serving with the Lakes Region Conservation Corps. The LRCC serves to protect the Lakes region of New Hampshire by supporting conservation efforts and promoting environmental stewardship in the region. I serve because protecting natural environments is essential to healthy communities. Through hands-on conservation work and environmental education, the LRCC gives me the ability to contribute to protecting the natural resources and beauty of this amazing region. I am inspired by Dr. King because when a community is connected by a common goal, passion and actions can ripple among people and missions become achievable. I started serving last May as a half-term Americorps member. After a summer of serving and interacting with community members, it was very apparent that the efforts of the LRCC were noticed and impactful. This led me to commit to another term of being dedicated to serving the Lakes region. Through actions and commitment, I look forward to continuing to contribute to positive impacts.
My name is Lisa Garcia, and I serve with City Year New Hampshire. City Year New Hampshire provides students with an opportunity to have a positive near-peer mentor in their lives. I serve because I want students and their families to feel welcomed in the community they live in and feel empowered to advocate for themselves. When Dr. King spoke at Ebenezer Baptist Church in 1968, he stated that we can all serve because all it takes is a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. And I feel that that's an invitation for you and I to be agents of social change within the communities we belong to.
Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Jason Bonilla, and I am an Americorps alum. I represent all of the National Service graduates who go on into institutions of higher education and places of employment in every sector and in every community, and pledge to continue to serve. I serve to empower our youth, to show them that zip codes do not determine their futures. Dr. King once said, people fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. This quote emphasizes our being comfortable with the uncomfortable. We must see that our differences are what make us stronger. We must challenge the ideas, not the person, and also at the same time, be comfortable being the one challenged. That is how we grow, and that is how we see the world. It is important to me to make MLK Day a day that it is as much about opening our hearts and minds as it is about rolling up our sleeves.
Thank you, Amelia, Sarah, Kimberly, Lisette, and Jason, for sharing your stories with us and for your commitment to service. And now, it is my honor to welcome to the stage Congressman Chris Pappas.
Thank you all so much. Well, it was a long walk up here. Thanks for waiting for me. Well, good morning, everyone. Great to see you all here, and thank you for the work that you do each and every day to lift up members of our community. That's really what it's all about here, and it's inspiring to hear a little bit more about some of the stories of the projects going on all over the state of New Hampshire. You know, today would have marked Dr. King's 90th birthday, and this holiday gives us an opportunity, a timely one, to commemorate and reflect on that march toward equality, toward justice, and the legacy of Dr. King. This day should also spur us to look across our community and to look within ourselves to assess whether we're doing our part to advance the causes of social and economic justice, whether we're empowering marginalized voices in our communities, whether we're looking out for the least among us, whether we're truly making the United States a more perfect union. We have seen recent evidence that America, unfortunately, is backsliding toward racial animus, toward intolerance. We've seen hate crimes on the rise. We've seen crimes against religious minorities and the LGBT community increasing. But we've also witnessed an erosion of middle-class opportunity at the same time. Economic opportunities for individuals in our country are at a low. Income inequality is increasing. Workers' rights are under attack, and there's a rising childhood poverty rate. Here in New Hampshire, we're seeing a growing opportunity gap in our own state. And the division and zero-sum politics in Washington is not helping anyone. I can attest to that. Today, of course, marks the 31st day of our government shutdown. I just came into Congress a few weeks ago. The government is closed for political purposes, and we're seeing 800,000 federal workers caught up in it. We're seeing critical funding for programs that serve people right here in New Hampshire that are caught up in it as well. We're also seeing some people banding together in fantastic ways to support federal workers and make sure these programs go forward. People at the community level that are offering no-interest loans or offering food assistance to families who need it. They're doing the right thing. It's not too much to ask for people in Washington to do the right thing as well, and I'm hopeful that we can get to that resolution. Because, you know, it's never the most well-off or the most well-connected that suffer consequences of political dysfunction. It's the most vulnerable among us, many of the same people that you serve in the work that you do. So look, it's easy to get disillusioned at a time like this, but it's also easy to get inspired when you're in a room like this, listening to the stories of the work that you do. Because Dr. King taught us that even against great odds, even when the deck has been stacked, that we can be the change that we want to see. He implored us not to be bystanders in our own communities, but to be catalysts for change and progress. As the mayor said, he asked us to look within ourselves and ask what we were doing for others. He said that was life's most persistent and urgent question that we had to answer. But at City Year, at Americorps, and your service projects, you're answering that question each and every day. And your incredible service is improving the lives of Granite Staters in fundamental ways. Your involvement is vital to the delivery of public education and programs that assist individuals in need and to protect our natural environment. And your work inspires me. It gives me hope at a time where it's easy to think that all might be lost. It is not, and you're showing the way forward, and I thank you for that. But look, in order to realize Dr. King's dream, we've got to celebrate and commemorate him on this holiday, but it's up to us each and every day to try to affect that legacy, try to implement it, and fully realize that dream. You know, one of my distinct honors in Congress is serving alongside John Lewis, who is a civil rights icon. And he was with King the day he died. He walked and marched with him. He was on the march toward equality and justice with Dr. King. And he often says that, quote, stand up, speak out, get in the way, and get in trouble. Get in good trouble, necessary trouble. So on behalf of the people of New Hampshire, I'm going to look to get into a little bit of good trouble down in Washington for you all. But I hope you'll find ways in your own world, in your own work, to get into trouble, to be agents for change, to make sure that we can together create the kind of world that delivers justice and equality to more and more people. So thank you for all you do. I want to wish you a happy, a mindful, and an inspirational Martin Luther King holiday. Thank you.
Inspiring service to our community. As Mayor Craig and Congressman Pappas reminded us, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are we doing for others? Those are Dr. King's words. I believe that the best way we can honor King's legacy, his transformative ideas, and unceasing faith in the power of humanity is to serve. And so here we are today on Martin Luther King Jr. Day to heed his call to service. I invite you now to imagine what performing service looks like. What do you do when you serve? What images appear to you? Take a moment to call some images to mind. Now raise your hands if the first thing that jumped into your mind were things like buckets of paint, or gardening tools, or collecting and sorting piles of canned goods, or articles of donated clothing. Physical service projects, like the work some of us will do to beautify Hillside Middle School and our canned food drive here today, are an important and valuable way to give back. But there are many more ways to serve, because there are many more things our communities need. Our students don't just need bright and inviting schools, they need kind and compassionate community members willing to serve as coaches and mentors. Our parks don't just need to be raked, they need to be cherished and enjoyed as a place to build community. Our families struggling with food insecurity or homelessness don't just need nutritious meals and a safe place to sleep. They also need to be encouraged and affirmed in their humanity. Investing in yourself can also be a form of service. While our communities do need inspiring places to learn, clean parks to play in, and healthy meals to eat, perhaps more importantly, we need to be informed, compassionate, and empowered individuals. Dr. King did not ask everyone just to pick up a paintbrush, but also to use our voices to speak out against injustice, inequity, and intolerance, to listen to our fellow human, and to speak our truths. And so, in honor of Martin Luther King Jr., we've provided a space here this morning to come together, to learn, to reflect, and to find our voices. In a minute, we will break out into workshop and service groups. You should have signed up for one at registration, and this is included on your name tags. City members can help direct you to the classroom locations. Empower, bringing out the proud and powerful girl in you, will be in room 218. Microaggressions will be in the media center on the left. That is also the library. Impacted voices to the front, passing of HB 1319 and what's next will be in room 216. New Americans will be in room 222. The use of hip-hop rhetoric and to combat criminalization of Black and brown youth will be in 214. Ask a Muslim Anything will be in 220. Beyond the Binary, Exploring Gender Identity will be in 213. Poverty Today, Cause and Implications of Poverty in America will be in the Media Center-Library on the right. An Active Bystander Training will be in room 212. Before we go, let's bring it in for a spirit break, which is the way we at City Year end group sessions to inspirationally center before we go our separate ways. You can participate by either putting your hand in the center, like a sports team, or by putting your hand on the shoulder of someone in front of you until we are all connected to the center. We'll count to 3 and all say service. Raise our hands in the air and snap. So, let's bring it in for a break. Woo!
Is everyone connected? All right, the word is service on 3. 1, 2, 3, service! Woo! All right.
Curriculum on Holocaust studies and the Civil Rights Movement and apartheid in South Africa. So I'm really excited to be here today. This is a training I designed on microaggressions during my first year in city year when I was noticing a lot of stuff happening in my classroom that I felt needed to be addressed. And I also have a background in social communication history, so I learned a lot about this in school and through experience, so I am excited to be here today. Raise your hand if you feel like you have some familiarity with what microaggressions are and that sort of thing. All right, cool. So we got a lot of variety in the room. And raise your hand if you're like completely new to this idea, like you haven't heard of it. Okay, cool, awesome. So I want to say we're going to be dealing with some stuff that might be difficult for some people today, and this is all about like language and talking and stuff, but I want people to not be afraid to ask questions. There will be an extended Q&A session at the end, but if you have a question that comes up that you need clarity on in the middle of the presentation, please don't be afraid to raise your hand and ask.
It's difficult to kind of put yourself in that position of saying like, oh, these are all the things I value, and having them be taken away. So it's an interesting activity to like get you thinking, you know. So I'm going to quickly go over. So I work for the International Institute of New England. My name is Shannon. Should have started with that. So my name is Shannon. I work for the International Institute of New England. Most people know us for the work we do with refugee resettlement here in New Hampshire. So our mission is to create opportunities for refugees and immigrants by giving them pathways to citizenship, education, career advancement, and resettlement services, right? And like I said, we also have here today Yawa from the Center of New Americans. So do you want to speak a little bit about?
Absolutely. My name is Yawa Agmanawasi. I work with the Center for New Americans. We work with new refugee immigrant children. We also work with their parents as well. The center just started about a year ago in January. It's a partnership with Southern New Hampshire University and the YWCA. And the aim is to help enrich youth lives. And with the hook is soccer, and we also partner with INTI. Coming from a refugee background myself, we help a lot of new refugee students from Syria, Rwanda, what's that one, that other one called? I can't remember, Tanzania, there we go. Tanzania, from all around the world, and they love to play soccer. We teach them how to play and social cues, how to get along with each other, kind of those kind of things that you're not really taught, kind of like social norms and stuff like that. There's also homework help. Our future expectations for this program is to take it even a step further and help their parents. We have the ESOL program that goes on right now to help their parents or anyone who really wants to learn to speak English get like an adequate degree so that they're going into the workforce with something that can help impact them in their lives, you know.
Bosnian War in the mid-90s, early and mid-90s, there were thousands and thousands of displaced people, and I brought a number of Bosnian Muslim students to the States. First to Manchester, and then to some other places in New Hampshire, and it ended up with 85 kids around the country as part of this program. And Timberland gave them all boots and pants and air tickets and glove, whatever Timberland could do for them, they did. So anything related to Timberland City Year, I do, if I can. I am not shy about speaking of my prejudices and disagreements with the current government and the way I think it chooses to ally itself with the forces of nativism and xenophobia and anti-Semitism. And so I speak out when I can in communities like this, or larger ones. I do this. I've now spoken in over 50 libraries in New Hampshire alone, public libraries, doing this program, including Concord. I've actually done 5 programs in Concord at different locations. So I'm here to answer your questions, and there is no question. There's no question too trivial or silly, but whatever it is that you might like to know or think you should know, please feel free to ask it. I say that I threaten you with onward babbling, you know, if I don't get any questions. So please, who brought a question to ask a Muslim here?
That she's done to make City of New Hampshire the place that it is. She was with City of New Hampshire its founding year, so she's been here for 17, 18 years. Yeah, she's just an incredible person, so I really look up to her for that.
Great. I also chose my mom, so 3 out of 4. I chose my mom because I feel like she takes care of everybody, and she kind of collects people, my sister and I always say, and we're like, oh, what are you doing today? She's like, oh, I'm going to take Francis out, and it's just like somebody who doesn't really have a lot of people in his life, and my mom just like collects these people and then finds activities to do with them. She's incredibly dependable, emotionally and just like for anything I might need. She's powerful, thoughtful, sacrificing, and then sometimes silly. And it's funny because sometimes she'll, like my mom got a 1970s Cadillac, and she's never really silly, but then she pulled up and the license plate was "Oh Behave" from Austin Powers, and it was completely out of character, so sometimes silly. And then I feel like I get my love of like exploration and traveling from my mom, so that's another reason that I think she's a powerful woman.
You did a great job drawing a picture of your mom, by the way.
You've seen my mom, so
yeah.
you would know.
Yeah, it's a great picture of your mom.
Yeah, I'm a stick figure kind of person.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So thank you everybody for sharing. So now we're going to talk a little bit.
If the only thing that you know about someone is their father's income, that's not a really good predictor at all of what their income is. That's not going to help you guess as to how well they're doing. There are other things that are contributing to their well-being other than just accident of birth. Whereas in the US, fewer opportunities for upward mobility, closer correlation between your income and your father's income. This holds true for your mother as well, but because of the fact that women have only entered the labor force in large numbers since the 1970s, we can't go back and look at these historical data if we look at both mothers and fathers, so we wind up looking just at fathers as a way to get longer term data. Also getting worse over the last number of decades. Right, so this is looking at the top 20%, how many of those actually wind up dropping below? And you can see fewer of them are dropping out of that. And then this is how many of in the bottom 20%, right, are moving up to the middle or above. Right, and you can see some fluctuation there, but actually in decline. The other thing I think is worth thinking about is how much, it's not just sort of variation by class in terms of outcome in the United States in ways that is more dramatic than it is in lots of other countries, but variation by geography in the United States in ways that appears much more dramatically, right? So the darker color here is lower levels of upward economic mobility. Right, so look at those patterns. Again, this is another way in which sort of the accident of the place of your birth, right, to whom you are born and where, in the US winds up being actually a pretty good predictor of the kinds of life opportunities that you're going to have. This is now looking at income inequality, right? So how much distance is there among income groups within any given country? Here we are again, right? Turkey, Chile, Mexico, Costa Rica, and South Africa. That's the set that has higher levels of inequality. Every other country to the left over here has lower.
This is where the bill is. This is where the bill's at. This is what the next action is going to be needed. We want you to call your state reps. If we were in a specific town or a city, you could even say, like, it's likely this person, this person, this person, these are their phone numbers, get in touch with them. And then we let the panelists all kind of do their own little intro, 2 or 3 minutes long. They'll tell a story. In this case, a lot of them were telling a story about discrimination or misunderstanding within their gender identity. Since this campaign, we've adapted it to kind of fit a number of other narratives. This is really exciting when part of a campaign that you were part of continues beyond the campaign. It's very powerful. And most of the event was a lengthy Q&A. It would be like an hour of just discussion. The moderator was usually kind of keen to maybe some areas that people didn't want to talk about, some areas of their life that they didn't want to be open to, and you can step in and intercept, kind of safely guard the panelists. And then a final call to action, which was in the end, it's like, we had this panel event. Our goal in this panel event is to push transgender non-discrimination protections, and we need you to call your rep. And it was really strange because it's like people really like transgender non-discrimination protections, but then calling their rep is like a whole other story. But it worked, the reps heard. Before these events, we promote with social media, there were press releases, direct asks. I included this here. This was not one of my interns, but before every panel event that we would do, obviously there'd be like a high interest. Sometimes you'll see a Facebook event that gets 300 likes or 300 going, interested. And then you get to the actual event and there's 20 people there. This messaging system, we would individually message every single person who said that they were going or interested on the Facebook events and say, hey, I'm volunteering with the Freedom New Hampshire campaign for trans non-discrimination protections to confirm people for our Ask a Trans Person Anything panel discussion tomorrow. I saw you were going. Do you think you will make it out? I still use this, and it makes a really big difference in event attendance. This isn't even true to just like the non-profit sector either. Like you can use this. It takes a little bit of work. You got to come up with your one message, and you just replace your name every time. Or you don't replace your name. You replace the other person's name.
You're not a hip hop head and like put down with OPP, because I don't think people even know that song anymore, right? Gold Digger, Kanye West, Through the Wire, All Falls Down, definite hip hop head. Cool. Top 5. So we got Drake, 21 Savage. This is someone young. So it's also interesting when you see like people's top 5s. Like you can start to get an idea of like what their tastes are and like who they are as a person, right? Because like so this person seems like they like a nice variety of different kinds of hip hop. This person is like straight up conscious, going Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Chance the Rapper, Jay-Z, and Nas. Like those are rappers that have like songs that are funky, but also like a lot of times like are talking about really serious issues. This person had a whole debate by themselves. They went J.E.A., Pac, Common, Wayne, and then Joyner, Eminem, Chance, Kendrick, Nas, Cole, like, so then it ended up with J.M., Kendrick, Kanye, Wayne. This person is from the old school. Curtis Blow, Ice-T, NWA, Sugar Hill Gang. That's a really good top 5. And a force for good, a general call to action. I like that. I liked it a lot. It has taught me to listen to the meaning and feeling behind harsh sounding lyrics. Absolutely, hip hop source of good. Has also introduced me to a rhetoric that I wasn't hearing in my own community that I wanted to learn more about. Hip hop has allowed me to gain a new and unique perspective of the world that wouldn't have been able to otherwise, especially in high school and college in New Hampshire. So cool. Y'all are the most. I've done this workshop several times, and like usually I'll get people like one person who will like say like why it's a force for good, but most people are like I don't know. But like we got some informed people here because like several of you were like these are my reasons. Cool. So that's awesome. Big ups to y'all. So
it is a religious thing, but it also in America kind of becomes a racial thing. There's a lot of blurring of the lines there. And similarly with anti-Semitism, you know, there are Muslim people and Jewish people of all faith and all religions. I mean, no, of all ethnicities is what I meant to say. But you know, a lot of the times when people are perpetrating anti-Semitism or Islamophobia, there's a specific type of person that they have in their head. And we just wanted to bring that up to just let everybody knows that is a generalization, that is a bias. And we also just want to acknowledge that all of those lists of biases that I just listed will harm people in different ways. It doesn't have to be all the same type of violence happen. There's multiple different ways that this type of thing can happen, and that they're all based in seeing the other person as less than human. You see someone as black before you see them as a person, or that type of thing. I use that example just because that's the example that I fall into, but whatever type of thing, these categories, I just mean to say that these categories help to dehumanize us. And they all often share a similar root cause, which is that our history and the institutions of our culture often favor one group over the other. So a white person will see me as black and attack me for being black because that benefits them as a white person, if that makes sense. And that's just in our institutions, in our history, and in our culture. And we can only stop that by acknowledging that.
If you don't have any questions, is to work on your own sheet with challenge by choice. So I know you're sitting close in proximity to other people, so if you're not comfortable, that's okay. But if you could fill out your worksheet, that would be awesome. Does anyone have any questions before we do this? Yes?
In terms of masculine and feminine, is that as defined by our culture?
Yes, that's an important distinction. It's hard because you can have your own redefined version of how you see masculinity or femininity, but right now, with the purposes of like just conceptualizing, let's work with society's expectations, which is not always fun. Other questions? All right, go ahead and do that.
Do you have an extra pencil or pen?
I do. Should have asked. Anybody else? Okay. Does anyone want to volunteer to plot your?
Certain versions of music have time crunch, and people like to give us minute.
Great.
With the number 2.
Girls are responsible for taking care of housework at home. Girls are usually tall. Men are the only ones.
Benjamin Franklin wrote